This is Raju here, and today I am back with a new topic to discuss about the architecture of LTE. So, before we deep dive into the new topic of discussing about the architecture or the simple architecture of LTE, just we will have a recap of what we have discussed. So, the first topic that we have discussed is step to LTE architecture, in which we have discussed about how the evolution of the means LTE has happened and what is the background of it and where it was exactly worked on, right? And from the advantages side, if you see, there are two different advantages what we have already discussed. One is for the telco operators, and the other is on the end users. Telco operators are nothing but the telecom operators who are providing the service to the users, right? And end users are those like you and me who are using the network, or you are using the data in our handsets, right? Now, from the telco operator side, if you see, we have already listed here that what are the different means. Just a minute, pointer view. Let me just see. Yeah. Now we have already discussed about the telco operators. What is the use now as compared to your 3G, or with respect to the data rate, or with respect to the cost, IP-based network and plug and play architecture, right? And from the end user side, if you really see, then there is a lot of improved user satisfaction, because the speed which is offered by LTE or 3.9G, LTE mainly refers to your 3.9G. It is not exactly the 4G, it is the 3.9G. But from the marketing perspective and all, if you see, it is getting marketed as 4G. So let us focus on from that aspect only. So from the end user side, if you really see that the experience or the data rate that we are accessing is much far better as compared to the previous generations. And based on the speed, there are a lot of applications that are being accessed remotely where the high data rate is required, and LTE is providing that high data rate, and which is finally resulting to your end user satisfaction, right? Now, from the data side also, we had seen that how exactly the packet switch work and what are the different network elements that are involved in this one, right? So if we broadly see that 4G is nothing but it is a SI architecture. Now, what is SI architecture? It's a system architecture evolution. Now, if we see the high level network of their architecture of LTE, now here what we are seeing, it mainly consists of three components, three network components. One is your evolved UE, the other is your EUTRON, which is your Evolved Universal Terrestrial Radio Access Network. And the third one is your core network, which we call it as EPC. What is EPC? It's Evolved Packet Core, right? So this is how the broadly classification of LTE architecture in terms of your SI. Okay. Now the important thing is the data rate. What LTE provides is between the possible nominal bandwidths of 1.4 megahertz to 3 megahertz and 5 megahertz to 20 megahertz. Okay. LTE is also capable of operating in both the bands, that is FDD and TDD, frequency division duplex and time division duplex. These are the two different bands, because these are the bands which are mainly responsible for allocating the slots to the channels, or we can say that they are mainly responsible for allocating the channels when you try to access the data, or when you try to access your voice services. Okay. Now, from the EPC side, if we see, it is a framework for providing the coveraged voice and data. Okay, what we are, I think who you people are getting. What is EPC? It is a framework. EPC is what? It's a framework. Evolved Packet Core is a framework for providing converged voice and data on a 4G long-term evolution, means on a LTE evolution. Now we can access. Now LTE doesn't mean that only you need to have a LTE network in order to access the services. Now here you can access the services even though if it is your 2G or 3G, you can easily access the services because it is having a switching between your respective networks, and it provides you a seamless connectivity. So this is a high view on the packet switched data. And now let us see today the simple architecture of LTE. Okay. Now here, if we see from the architecture side, as we had seen earlier, this one it's a broadly means brief explanation about what we have discussed in our earlier slide. Now, in the simple architecture, if we see, there are different elements. Okay, this is your evolved users. These are different evolved users, and this is your eutron evolved utron, and this is your EPC network, which is your core network. Now here, if you see, this evolved UE is nothing but it is having advanced features of accessing the LTE network. And eutron, if we see what eutron it contains the cells, or it contains the e-node base. So it contains intercell RRM, RB control, connection mobility control, radio admission control, e-node B config and provisioning, dynamic resource allocation. So everything is clubbed together under your eutron. Okay. Now from the EPC side, from the core network side, if you see, we have MME, HSS, SGW, and PGW. Okay. Now there is another external network which connects EPC connects to your external network. One is your PDN gateway, and the other is your IMS platform or internet apps, or the external means applications where we have to refer it. Okay. So here, if you mainly see, now LTU uses either your frequency division duplex or time division duplex. Okay, these are the two important things what we have to remember. Now from that aspect, if you really see, this all network elements are interconnected with each other. Now evolved UE is directly connected to your eutron, and eutron is having all the different network elements clubbed under one single means what we can say, one single network element. And in turn, eutron is coordinating with your EPC for every authentication or every signaling information or every service that EUE is accessing. Okay, getting what I'm saying, that eutron is coordinating with EPC for whatever the services the EUE is trying to access it. Now, what EPC contains? EPC contains your MME, which is your mobile management entity, HSS, which is your home station subsystem, SGW, which is your serving gateway, and PGW, which is your PDN gateway. Now, if we compare this on a very, very high level, if we compare these network elements with respect to your our earlier network, MME we can refer it as MSC, HSS is nothing but your HLR, SGW is your SGSN, and this is your GGSN. That is how broadly we can classify. But from in LTE, everything is modified, and here we have the different naming convention MME, and as based on that, there is a lot of improved functionality as well. So here EPC is connected to the external world for accessing the services, whether it is your data or whether it is your IP. Okay. Now, if we see the functions of each network element of MME, HSS, SGW, PGW. So let us see the functions of MME. So MME plays a very important role in LTE EPC architecture as it deals with EPC control panel. So this is nothing but your EPC control panel. So MME directly deals with a EPC control panel because it is every network element is interconnected to each other with two different interfaces, S1 MME and S11 MM, S11 MME. It manages eNode B and SGW respectively. These are the air interfaces which are the signaling information, and since they are connected to each other, so it contains the different it manages the different network element. Okay, it also manages your mobility, sessions, roaming, paging. These are the different services, and MME is in charge of authenticating the user as well as the generation and allocation of temporary identities to UEs. Okay, and MME also controls mobility between LTE and 2G access networks. This is one important aspect everyone has to understand. Now, everywhere we will not be able to find your LTE network, right? In some of the places there can be your 2G network, 3G network. So in such cases, what will happen? Will user will not have the access? No. So LTE has a switching capability. So whether it is your 2G network or 3G network, so there these services can be switched, and it also handles your handover between the core network elements, and it also coordinates with your UE for respective SGW gateway selection. Okay, in the initial attach. That is whenever you try to access the data. Now coming to your HSS, home station subsystem. Like I mentioned earlier, it is mainly like your HLR in your earlier network. So here if you see, HSS mainly consists of subscriber profile and authentication information. It contains the subscriber information, and it is one of the network core network element in IMS. IMS is what? It's an external platform which is mainly responsible for handling your voice related services. Okay, the database stores information. Now HSS is nothing but it's kind of database. It stores the information about the subscriber, which helps in authorization details of devices, as well as the user location and the service information. Okay, this is well understood. Now, HSS allows CSPs to perform specialized functions such as barring certain services and functions, activation, deactivation of SIM card, and the other. It is like mostly controlling the services on the user profile, because whether you want to have a value added services, whether you want to bar some of the services or activate some of the services, so every function is controlled by your CSPs, which are in turn controlled by your HSS. Now, further to discuss on SGW. SGW is what? It is your serving gateway and is mainly responsible for data and routing the data to the users with the required data packets. Okay. Now, since it coordinates with the data, it is mainly responsible for the data, so it controls your data packets. It is also responsible for handover between the different eNode Bs. Not only one, between the different eNode Bs, it is mainly responsible for handovers of the services in the EU plane and provide mobility between LTE and other type of networks such as between 2G, 3G and PGW. So that is there. So whenever now let's say you are moving and you are trying to access the services, and in between there is a drop of LTE and there is a lesser bandwidth network like your 2G or 3G. So it controls that and it allows a seamless connectivity without any drop and without any interference. It controls the termination of the sessions for downlink data for use in idle state, because whenever you are idle, you are not using any services. So unnecessary, there should not be the data that is being accessed, right? So in such cases, is also responsible for terminating it. So it stores the information of the UE context when paging happens, parameters of the IP bearer and routing information. It is also responsible for replicating user traffic for lawful interceptions. Okay. Now coming to your PGW, PGW is nothing but your PDN gateway, okay, which is like your GGSN in your earlier network. So PDN is the connectivity node between UEs and external networks. So what it says, it's a connectivity node between your UE, that is a user equipment, and the external network. Now, what are the main functions? It is mainly responsible for charging the support, packet screening, enforcement of the policies. Okay, so these are the main functions of PGW. So this is a very simple and a brief explained architecture about the LTE. I hope you people understood this. So if anyone is having any kind of questions or the details that are required, I request you to please post your comment in the video comment section, so I will be able to respond to it. So thank you very much for taking time and listening to the video. I hope you enjoyed the information that is provided in this part of the video, and I will try to put more informations in my coming videos with respect to the LTE architecture itself, so that we have complete information about it. So thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you, and I request everyone to please share, subscribe, and yeah, provide your comments. Thank you very much.